There are nights when the world feels unusually still, as if time itself has slowed just enough to remind someone that something important is about to change. The boy walks alone along the empty platform, hands tucked inside his hoodie pockets, pretending he still has more time than he actually does. He stares down the dark tracks, distant lights flickering in his eyes, and after a quiet pause he whispers, "I still have time, right?" as if hoping the silence will answer. Above him, the old station clock keeps ticking steadily, and he glances up at it, suddenly aware that time isn't slowing down for him tonight. The schedule board flickers above the platform, with only one arrival listed, and the boy feels his chest tighten at what isn't written there tonight. He lowers himself onto the cold metal bench and exhales slowly, wondering how many quiet chances he has already let slip away by telling himself, "Someday will be better." In his memory, a younger version of him runs freely under the sun, laughing without hesitation as he shouts, "I'm going everywhere, like the world has no limits." The memory fades, and the present feels heavier than it should, and he lowers his gaze as he quietly asks himself, "When did I stop believing that?" Through the drifting fog, a distant white light slowly appears and begins to grow, and the boy feels his heartbeat rise as the moment he feared draws closer. The wind from the arriving train brushes against his face and lifts his hair slightly, and he swallows as he whispers, "It's really here now." The train enters the station with a long metallic sigh, sparks of light gliding along the rails as it slows down, as if even it understands that this stop carries weight. When the doors slide open and warm light spills across the platform, the boy steps a little closer, feeling the quiet pull of something he can no longer ignore. Inside the train, strangers sit quietly beneath warm amber lights, and the boy wonders how many of them once stood frozen at a doorway just like this. He stands facing the open doorway, shoulders tight and unmoving, and in a voice barely louder than the wind, he whispers, "If I step in, everything changes." His fingers curl slightly at his side, the small movement betraying the fear he tries so hard to hide, and after a shaky breath he quietly asks, "What if I fail?" In his mind, a future version of himself stands confidently inside the train, eyes steady and unafraid, and says with quiet certainty, "You won't." But another version of him lingers on the empty platform, older and heavier in spirit, and says in a tired voice, "You already did." The chime echoes softly through the station, and the train doors begin sliding toward each other, their movement slow but certain, leaving him only seconds to decide. As the space between the doors narrows to a thin line of light, he closes his eyes for a brief second and tells himself, "Choose," before the moment disappears. Then he steps forward into the narrowing light, not because the fear is gone, but because he is finally tired of letting fear decide who he becomes. The doors close firmly behind him, sealing the cold night outside, and as the warm light surrounds him, he exhales softly and whispers, "Okay." As the train begins to move, the platform slowly blurs into streaks of fading light, and he steadies himself, realizing there is no going back now. He studies his reflection in the window as the station disappears behind him, and in a quiet, honest voice he admits, "I'm still scared, but I'm moving." Outside, the tracks stretch endlessly into the dark, and the train carries him farther from the place where he almost chose to stay. And as the train disappears into the night, the boy finally understands that courage is not the absence of fear, it is choosing to move forward while it's still there.